Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my out-of-box review for the HG Gundam Age Zedas R. So I know you guys are probably getting a little bit sick of the HG Age reviews, but I promise this is the last one, for now anyway. And I don't particularly foresee myself buying any more HG Age kits in the future unless there's one that really jumps out at me, but I mean, I don't think they're going to be making any more, so all the ones that we have are kind of already out. I mean, this is kind of the last of those that I'm really all that interested in, and I just wanted to try out one of these kits because these like enemy mobile suits from Gundam Age were quite interesting. This is this is probably the most tolerable one for me. Even this one's it's borderline. It's pretty weird, and it barely made the cut for me. Liking the design enough to want to try it. There's some pretty cool aspects to the design, but I gotta say, after building the kit, I'm actually a little bit disappointed with it, just because there's some aspects of how this kit looks that I didn't really notice before. I guess just from like all like the images on the box art and like images of what like the mobile suit is supposed to look like. In kit form, I think it doesn't really look as good as I was expecting, and most of that is just all proportion stuff. So for one, I think the legs on this I think they're exactly how they're supposed to be, but just in terms of my personal taste, the legs are way too small for this kit. We have this like upper body that has a lot of bulk. It has these huge arms. The head is actually quite big. We have these like huge like cape side skirt wing things like wrap around the side of it. And even that kind of like large backpack sticking off the back, which I also hadn't realized was that big. And so with all of that big stuff, I think rather than trying to make all of that stuff smaller, I think it's going to be much easier to just modify the legs to make the legs bigger and longer. So ultimately, that's probably what I'll end up doing. As it is now, it just kind of really looks like a midget, and it just looks kind of silly. Not that don't get politically correct on me now here in the comments, please. But anyway, also, just if you're not planning on painting this, the colors aren't quite exactly correct. This is not black as it's supposed to be, but it is just a kind of really dark navy-ish, purplish color. If you look at actually like the painted sample images in the manual, they are actually in that kind of purplish color, but all the rest of the artwork looks more black actually, so I don't know. But anyway, I think I'll definitely be painting mine in a different color anyway, so it doesn't matter. Also, like that like fluorescent yellow color for the hands is cool that the hands are in a different color like that, but I won't be painting them in like that kind of style. So anyway, let's take a look at some of the articulation. Like I said, the design, I like kind of like all of the design aspects, but just the proportions of this kit are just off for me, unfortunately. So in terms of these stickers, it's quite minimal. We only had a few. We had a kind of clear, it's just like foil green sticker there that goes in between these parts there for making up that kind of eye camera part there in the head. And so the way that goes, you like stick it on a part and then stick the other part on top of that so that you're able to get that really narrow line. And the sticker is not that narrow, so that's nice. If they would have given you just like a super narrow green sticker to try to fit in between there, it probably wouldn't have been as nice, but as it's designed now, it actually works quite well. The other green stickers I thought were going to be going on top of this clear green part, but they actually go on the inside, so you're sticking like these like foil green stickers under there, and then you have this clear green piece that you put over that. It actually works quite well. I was worried that clear green piece was going to be too dark, and you just weren't going to see it at all. You can actually see it, that clear green actually shining quite brightly because you have those foil stickers underneath the clear part. So I got to give them props. The usage of the foil stickers for this kit is actually really, really good. In terms of the articulation, the head only goes up to about there and only down to about there, so not too much. It's very hindered just by the design here. You kind of like turn that a little bit and then you can get a little bit more angled down, so probably have to do that, just have it posed like this rather than straight down, just because these red parts pointing down here just run into the top of the torso. You just move it a little bit off to the side, then you can have the head pointed a little bit farther down. In terms of the shoulder joint, you can see that shoulder joint will move forward and back like that, so that's pretty ingeniously designed in there as well. I quite like that. Shoulder armor will move up and down, but not too much. As you can see, move that up and then move the arm up, really only to about there, about 90 degrees perpendicular to the body. Kind of wish that was a little bit more, but it's not too bad. You can rotate this here, and then a nice double joint there in the arm. Can't quite give you a full bend, but it bends to about there, which is not too bad. The hand is just on a ball joint, so you can get a lot of nice movement there. You have this separate piece there in the hand for, I guess that's supposed to be a beam gun or something. Again, not really too familiar with this, with the series or with the design. I also like how the hand is symmetrical like that. It's not like a normal hand. How it's kind of like got the 2 thumbs and like the 3 fingers kind of going on there with that. It's just another interesting aspect of the design that I think is pretty cool. One thing about this kit is that it has a lot of seams, so fixing all the seam lines on this kit or not is going to be a selective process for you, which ones you actually want to fix or not. Like, for example, here in the torso, you have like the top and bottom half of the torso. I probably won't bother with that seam line. I'll just keep that there. That kind of looks fine. It's just like a panel line. But as far as like these shoulder parts, like this gray part for the shoulder, we'll have to get rid of the seam line there, seam line on the back of the arm here, seam line on the upper arm, seam line on the legs, the upper leg and the lower leg. There's a lot of seams on this kit. In terms of these parts here, let me just move these parts out of the way so we can get to the main mobile suit here. It's something that you can do here. You can also fold those wings back if you want. That's more for the transformation, but if you wanted to just have it like that, you totally could have it just be kind of something like this. Anyway, so I imagine that probably looks cool to some people. This part here in the torso front hip section there, that moves, but again, that's mostly for the transformation. Those little red parts there, like that, in just mobile suit form, it's just supposed to be like so. In the waist articulation, it will move quite a bit forward and back, and then not really side to side. You can of course rotate as well, but forward and back is pretty good. Again, that's I think more for the transformation, but you can utilize that in its just mobile suit form as well. And then the hips, the legs are unfortunately plugged on just via a ball joint. This is the kind of connection that you don't really like to see on a more recent kit because it doesn't really allow for a whole lot of really nice articulation. So you can basically move the legs forward and back and out only to about there. That's about as wide as these legs go. So that's just kind of disappointing. In the knee, you get I think it's a double bend here, but yeah, it's a double bend, but it's really only going to give you about that much. It's more than 90 degrees, but it would be nice if it was maybe a little bit more, but it's good enough, I think, anyway. So here you can see, like, we have this really nice long thigh, and then the lower leg kind of is like in a really weird place, like how it's like really high up into there, just like the overall kind of shape of the leg is kind of goofy. So I think probably what I'll end up doing is just cutting this part here and then just extending this part of the leg, maybe like a centimeter almost. I'm talking like a pretty long extension to that because I want these legs to be much longer than they are now. So just extending that part of the leg there is probably what I'll end up doing for mine later on down the line. And then there's seam lines here on the feet as well. So like this front part of the foot and the red part of the foot has a seam line on there. The ankles can move side to side like that, but you can see as you're doing that, it's separating these parts here for the leg. So you kind of have to press that back together. Forward and back is not all too much, unfortunately, as you can see. So in terms of the ankle articulation, it kind of sucks. But you can, fortunately, point that toe down there, so you have some articulation there, again, for the transformation, but it works. Underneath the foot, it's just nothing there. It's just flat. So not really a whole lot of detail, but I'm okay with that. You don't really ever look under there. Going back here to the backpack now, this part here behind the head looks like it should be able to move, but it actually doesn't. It's just fixed there, like together with the torso. So that big thing is just kind of there. And then, of course, this whole back section can move. Again, that's for the transformation, but that moves, and you can just move these wing parts around pretty nicely. So I like that. And then this tail part is actually its weapon. So we can just pull that off like that, and then this can actually just plug into the hand. So we can just plug that into this part in here, or let's see, how does that go? Yeah, so what you have to do is kind of pull out this gray part a little bit, and you can see kind of comes out a little bit of an angle, and then you can plug in this sword part into here. It seems like it's going to be kind of tricky to sneak that into the hand, but once that is on, seems relatively secure. It looks kind of weird, to be honest. I'll probably just keep that on the tail just because this just looks kind of silly, and it's just kind of like there into the hand. It's weird. Just go away. Its other accessories include closed hands. So here is what the closed fists, I guess you could call it, look like. These look even weirder. So you have these really weird looking hands with just like the fingers closed. And let's see what they look like, just like pointed down. Yeah, they kind of look like closed fists, but they just kind of look really strange. So I think I'll just stick with just the open hands for this. And I'll just stick with the sword just stuck onto the back of the kit as a tail. And but yeah, one thing that I like about the design of this is this kind of like vent design. You can see here on the back of the kind of like back skirt area, here on the back of this backpack area, here on the back of the feet. And it's a cool like kind of like vent design that they've carried out throughout the design in a few different places. This kit does, of course, also have its transformed flight mode, which is pretty underwhelming. I mean, basically you just kind of bend the arms, bring those wings up around the sides of the shoulders, and then kind of buckle its knees back, like sort of similar to like the Wing Gundam, and then just fold the legs back, and that's pretty much it. But I mean, it's not the worst transformation in the world, I don't think. It's kind of interesting, but I mean, it's not going to look like a fighter jet or anything. Nothing like the Zedas C+ or something like that, where it looks like a kind of almost totally different thing. It just looks like the mobile suit is just kind of in a weird pose and just flying. So the thing about this kit is that it's just going to be a really unique design, which I as you guys know, if you guys watch a lot of my reviews, I mean, I like when designs are unique. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I was drawn to wanting to check out one of these type of mobile suits from this series. But obviously it's not going to appeal to everyone. So and I guess you could say the same for the series itself, because it's a quite polarizing series, I think, with probably a lot more people lining up on the side of not liking the series at all. But those people who have actually taken the time to watch the series, I know a lot of people do actually like it. With this kit, though, in particular, it is, I think, probably the most work that you're going to be having to do on this kit is just a lot of seam line removal, which does take time, but overall I think just construction, everything does work pretty well. There are some limits to the articulation, but overall I think the engineering and the design, what do I want to say, the engineering that's gone into this kit all works pretty well. I wish the hip joint was different. I think that could be pretty easy to modify. So I might think about possibly modifying that hip joint instead of just being just a straight ball joint on there, making that a peg, just so that will give a little bit more articulation there in the hip. And then obviously, like I talked about before, I definitely want to extend the legs out on this kit for sure. But yeah. Alright guys, so that is pretty much going to do it for my review of the HG Age Zedas R. I kind of forgot about this, but there is just a regular version of the Zedas, which is, as far as I can tell, exactly the same kit, just in different colors. I do kind of prefer this color, just because the other one's pretty plain, with it just being like the really same dark color and then just gray, but I think it looks a little bit more cool with the red on there instead of the gray. But anyway, yeah, like I said, as far as I can tell, exactly the same kit. So you can check that out if you want. I obviously won't be reviewing that. Does this kit stack up to the other three HGH kits that I've reviewed, the Age 1 Full Glanza, the GXS, and the Shaldal Rogue? No, but it's quite different. I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be exactly just as good as how awesome those three kits are, because those are quite different in their design. I mean, those are all very kind of standard in their design, pretty standard humanoid Gundam kind of type mobile suits, but this one is so different. So obviously Bandai had to do a lot of kind of different things than usual with this kit. So I think what they have done with this kit is good. Like I said, they've, I think, done just about as good a job as they can on this kit. The only thing that I don't like is the proportions, but that's just how it is, apparently. So I don't know, I'll have to work on that with mine. But what do you guys think of it? I'm sure some of you guys are out there are Age fans and fans of these kits, so let me know what you think. Or is this just too weird for you? Anyway, thank you guys as always for watching. If you have any other questions, comments like that, just let me know down below. Love hearing from you guys. And this will conclude, I promise, the string of HG Age reviews that I'm doing here for you guys. The next one will be a pretty unique kind of older kit though, so we'll take a look at that next. And I'll see you guys then. Bye bye.